The usage of crypto, where people can put safe credibilities on another user to ensure that they're actually doing the right things on the blockchain itself. And if you bring something like that, then people can do the efforts to understand how to interact with the product.
They use Gemini for the research, as a lot of people do, and the research that they got had one of the companies valued at, let's say, $100 million.
Hello to everyone who joins this wonderful DeGen Summit 2024. I'm Pauli Speaks, your host for today. I'm a podcast host, Octopus Strategic Partnership and Net3 strategic analyst at Rowing Group as well, so we're gonna have to talk with you guys. And today we're actually gonna dive deep into the very future of blockchain, Web3, and everything decentralized. And today we're going to kick off with our first panel discussion. And we have an impressive lineup, guys. I'm impressed. Our speakers here, trailblazers in their fields. And our first panel discussion gonna be decentralization vs centralization, striking the balance for mass adoption. Common topic, and I think a lot of people can understand what is going to be here. We're going to try to find this equilibrium between these two approaches to drive widespread adoption, as we all want to be here. And first up, we have, I would like to apologize to everyone if I'm going to pronounce names incorrectly, because French names.
I'm sorry, guys. It's time.
Okay. First up, we have Cyril Briac, an entrepreneur and therapist who has been a driving force in integrating blockchain with innovative business solutions. Hi, Dave.
Hey.
Feel free to say that.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting you to introduce me like that. I'm mostly working for FX Protocol, which is a decentralized sale-car and non-liquidatable leverage protocol. And this is my old life stomach. Yeah, but it's fine. Very fun. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks to Journey. Lovely. Next, we have Jerry Wood, a co-founder of Influx as well. Hi there.
Hi.
And Jerry has been at the forefront of the blockchain technology shaping the future of decentralized finance. And I had actually a podcast with one of the guys in Influx, and maybe it's time to have a podcast with HL.
I hope so.
Feel free to introduce yourself as well, as you like it.
Yeah, at Influx we do market making as a service for top projects and institutions. Mostly focused about doing this collaboratively and transparently, where it's really a black box market making. We just try and open that up to the public.
Don't tell me that market making is a black box. I also do boutique market making. No one knows about that, and all of Influx, I love the branding, about the guys. I think. Yeah, and market making is another thing. I think I can talk about that, and about incubation and about decentralization 24 hours in the day. But still, I have to announce another one guest here, Arjun Mishra, co-founder at DeGen Technologies. Feel free to speak up.
Yeah, hi everybody, thank you guys for having me. I'm also a co-founder of Metaverse here, which is mentioned. We are a different project there, and we do a lot of enterprise solutions at DeGen.
Lovely. And finally, they're going to be our moderator, Provost Goodbar, Abhishek, and seasoned professional in the crypto space. Lovely to have you here with us. Hope you can help us to navigate our brainstorms here. And so, I think we can start and take the initiatives, guys.
Alright, thank you everyone for coming in, and as you can see, my moderator she's stuck somewhere in the fight, so I'll be a moderator for today. Alright, let's get started. Guys, thank you all of you for joining us on a lovely morning. First event of Global 2049 week. So my first question to all of you is, how can decentralized networks ensure accountability and prevent bad actors from influencing decisions? Maybe we can start with you.
I think it dives into the basics of crypto, right? When there needs to be consensus on what transaction actually needs to be posted on the blockchain. But outside of the basic, what I think is really cool is credibility scores are these days given out, where it's not the validators that need to post the private transactions, but it's actually the users of crypto, where people can put stake credibilities on another user to ensure that they're actually doing the right things on the blockchain itself.
Okay, so I'll answer this question in a small story. A few days back, I asked one of my analysts to come back with market research on a particular topic. They use Gemini for the research, as a lot of people do, and the research that they got had one of the companies valued at, let's say, 100 million. I knew that company, so I knew they were valued at 15 million. I go to my Google Sheets, I change the value. I asked the guy again, and Gemini was taking data from my Google Sheets. Now, this is the problem with centralization, right? Centralization lets companies do things that even the users are not aware of. And with decentralization, you can stop these things. This is the only way to do it. Of course, there are a lot of hiccups, there will be a lot of things that you cannot control. But I think that is the cost of decentralization. And again, yeah, this whole story should prove why decentralization is so important. Right?
Yeah, I guess it can be resumed in two words: it's transparency and trustlessness. You don't need to trust any black box when there's this decentralization, and you can just read the blockchain and make sure the data is correct.
Yeah. So picking up from your experience, during you spoke about him. It's an interesting story. I think everybody should know about it. But we are too far from the user experience of what ideally a decentralized world should have. But it is more of a convenience why we use a centralized world. So what are your experiences? What are your thoughts in terms of the user experience? And we all are crypto people. Probably we are too close to this working in this format. But a lot of people who are coming in from a Web 2 world, they find it quite difficult. So what is your...
See, my point in this aspect is that for some reason we find it to be cool. That's one of the reasons why it is valued so much. We are so obsessed with MetaMask logins and all this Web3 experience of getting users in, right? What we need to have is a traditional or legacy ecosystem. The centralized ecosystems have already solved the user experience problem to a lot of extent. I think we should not confuse user interfaces with user experience. They're two very different things. Removing the number of clicks is a very simple metric for improving user experience. And I think a lot of Web3 startups really need to think on this, on how they are actually improving the user experience. Otherwise, adoption is not going to happen. This is a very important thing. Yes.
Yeah, I can agree with what you said, but in another way, we don't need, at the moment, tons of retail users to interact with DeFi protocols. For instance, I speak about DeFi, but we need like more larger users, professional users, and I think at the moment the best way to attract this kind of users is to bring unique value propositions. And that's what we try to do with FX, like bringing on-chain, decentralizing, and real yield, which is way better than what real asset can bring, or non-equated leverage, which is a unique value proposition. And if you bring something like that, then people can do the efforts to understand how to interact with the products. And obviously, yeah, the user experience for now is not the best. Definitely, you said MetaMask, and it's too bad we isn't here to talk about it, but it's definitely a hassle when you start interacting with Web3. But if you see a good value proposition, then you may do enough research to know how to interact with it and embrace this new value prop. I think it's all a cost trade and cost-benefit trade-off, right? Where it's the costs are too high, the prop was big enough, and there's a better solution out there. People will actually use it. But right now, there's so many options in terms of USDT, USDC, all these stable coins out there, and you have a lot of chains as well. A user that gets on there doesn't know whether they need to use Solana, Ethereum, Algorand, all of these chains out there. If we can simplify that, the cost will be lower of actually adopting something, while the benefit will be significantly higher. And at some point, it's probably going to be abstracted by intermediaries that will handle our share for them.
I guess every intermediaries, I guess, would be the way to handle these instances of what we will create.
So, I mean, we all, crypto people, we say that this is the product which is going to bring the next billion users, and I think every brand uses this tagline. According to you, I mean, what do you think? Would it be a centralized system, or it could be decentralized system which will actually bring in the real mass adoption? What are your? I mean, I have a thought in my head, but I would like to hear from you guys as well.
We start? Yeah. So I'll answer this again with another both examples, right? We in India, we got the telecom operators and the telecom regulatory authority to make it mandatory for all telecom operators to shift on messaging on blockchain. So in India, if you send a message right now, it's on blockchain. We process 70 billion transactions a month in that particular venture, and it is a mandate. Right? So now the point is, how do you cohesively work with the governance and the mass rights to get it done? Or how do you, what problem are you trying to solve? I mean, those are two different things that you need to consider when you start thinking of what brings the next billion users on blockchain. I mean, in a way, if you have to say, I've already brought a billion users on blockchain. I mean, India is a population of 1.3 billion, right? So, now, again, this is all very subjective depending on what problem statements you're trying to solve. Not always decentralized money is the problem statement, right?
I also think that people first move to a centralized entity and adapt to the decentralization. If you go on an exchange, the first place you go to is a centralized exchange. Then you start to understand the issue the centralized exchanges have, like what happens if I die, will they actually give my money back? FTX issues, right? And then they actually move to a decentralized solution because they understand the problem. So I do believe that centralized exchange will be first for the centralized part, and then they actually move to the decentralized side. Yeah, I think so too. But my main concern here is for users to actually understand what's centralized and what isn't. And I think it's more and more blurry between the centralized and decentralized products. For instance, during that cycle, we've seen huge success of products that were calling themselves decentralized, but weren't exactly decentralized. And I think the main issue for the next billion users is going to be to understand what exact risk they are facing when using Web3.
Picking up from your point, let's talk about security. I mean, according to you, and obviously you say that decentralized systems are more secure, but it opens a lot of vulnerabilities and there are a lot of people using it. So what would be your thought in terms of security, which is more secure? Is it centralized? And I'm not talking from a point of view of morality, I'm talking about of the intent of the person who has the centralized product. From a complete security point of view, what would be your bet on?
What would be my, sorry?
What would be your bet on? Is it a centralized product or it would be decentralized product?
I think you got my point. It's obviously decentralized products because I believe that it's obviously there's a risk as well with decentralized products, but you can assess them. If you don't understand code, you can read the audits, which will abstract the code reading and understand the risks in the problems. Then you can read articles about it, and you can try.
Yeah.
But with centralized products, there's obviously a level of trust in a company, and all the black swan events came from a problem of centralization at some point, and people put too much trust into untrustable companies, basically. So, in my opinion, it's different risk, but it's a risk that is tangible with decentralization, and then way more okay to take. One thing important though, I guess, is that retail might not be able to read all the code out there and do those audits. So I think it's important to simplify that with auditing companies that can do that, and then they put a certain trademark or security label or rating on it to simplify it for retail. Because if retail is only access to every day, they also make the mistakes that the government doesn't want them to make. That's why they have regulation on the centralized exchanges. So it's important that there are layers on top of that to simplify that for retail traders as well.
Great. Centralization costs you also right? So if you want to have, there are different risks, as you mentioned very rightly. Centralization definitely has more risks. They're controlling it through regulatory bodies. That's how the governments are functioning. And of course, decentralization does not really completely mitigate those risks, but you can deal with those risks because those are much more narrowed down, much more precise, right? You can identify it's usually either the core or the functors. If you value both of them properly, I think you're nearly there, at the decentralization.
My next question is for you. You mentioned about a lot of products which have come in the last quarter who were claiming to be decentralized, but they are centralized. So, do you think we will start seeing some sort of convergence between decentralized and centralized models, or is there any products which you think are matching both the things, and any examples which you have?
I think from here. So I believe that, you cannot build decentralized world sites, right? You cannot have a very separate decentralized world and very separate centralized world living. It will be very tough for them to coexist in the long run. I think what we'll have is a bridge between the two. And slowly we're seeing that bridge also coming in. I think there will be federated models where you'll have more decentralization structured over centralized ecosystems. You will have a lot of mix in the middle. And the slow and gradual shift from completely centralized systems to somewhere in the middle, kind of a federated model or decentralized model or a distributed model, so to say, at least. And that is the direction where even centralization is moving towards and the decentralization is moving towards. Somewhere in the middle where we can actually coexist.
Any examples which you can think of?
That's books. It's a very good example. Their user experience is very clearly designed like a Web2 model, like an AWS. Though they are a Web3 company, they aggregated capacity from lower tier people, whatever providers, right? And still was able to deliver a certain level of SLA, which really helped. That is the reason why they were the best cheap products. Yeah.
I think another example are exchanges, centralized exchanges, decentralized exchanges like Uniswap, which is fully decentralized, and then you have the hybrid models, which are decentralized exchanges with order book, where the order book is actually off-chain just because it is way more efficient and way faster, but the other transactions are happening on-chain. And that's where you have the hybrid model and they work collectively.
So, all of you have been looking at multiple projects, multiple products. Which industry do you think, my question is twofold. One is, which industries are currently using the decentralized systems? And which industries do you think should definitely adapt to decentralized? And I know we'll say all industries, but I would like to hear at least one of the specific whether that can be the case.
Yeah.
I believe, if we want to go from Web 2 to Web 3, right? I think retail would be a segment that I would really want to see shift. That's what really brings the users in. What currently people are using. For example, it could be e-commerce, it could be any of the existing ecosystems or digital economy that is coming in, right? There should be an ecosystem. And if that can get transitioned here, then the easiest way to transition a large number of users onto a Web3 kind of ecosystem. That's where I would go.
In my opinion, the main business is finance, basically, and that's what we do with DeFi, because you bring transparency in a very obscure business, and that brings a level of security and freedom, which is just new. And on top of that, we build in DeFi like more efficient products and more better hits than TradFi. I'd say better risk reward products. And for me, it's a no-brainer. And once the institutions have the regulatory framework to bring money into DeFi, it's going to be huge. think those are also the places where there's generally a very heavy centralized party. And by making it decentralized, it allows everyone to access those assets or actually provide the other side of the loan or provide the other side of the insurance where there being one centralized entity. Of course, there's a risk associated with that is that some people might not be qualified enough to assess those risks, but that's up to that. And basically, it comes down to the free market out there.
So, I mean, just pick up from the point you mentioned is, we spoke about, I mean, all of us are huge supporters of decentralization, but definitely there are certain shortfalls which probably my mob would not come to decentralize their code. We spoke about user experience. What would be other pointers which you think are still lagging in decentralized and we have a long way to go to probably complete decentralized systems as well?
Need to speak.
Can it also take? Go for it. I think one point that we already touched on is mass decentralization, where they don't have the proper knowledge to assess whether something is really decentralized or not. I was working with an open source software a long time ago. In order for pull requests to be accepted, has to go through the whole voting. But actually, what comes down to is that the foundation holds most of the voting power. So it's not really decentralized, basically a centralized party that holds 90% of the voting power, so they still control the open source software. And understanding that and all the bells and whistles, doxing and all these terms out there, it's too complex still for people to get into it.
Just adding to that. I agree, and I mean, I think that is the way it is going to happen, right? You're going to see centralized systems simply transition into these. And that is the fastest way of moving the users from that kind of an ecosystem. When we did the telecom ecosystem, or the way Akash is doing it, any other major player who's bringing the web to guys into the Web3 is doing it is, you give the same experience that they're getting right now, and you give them similar product, but with a lot of value add. The transition is very easy, and there is the cost and benefit trade-off, right? It is going to be very easy for them to get it.
So, I mean, the next question which I have, which we did one Twitter survey, people started asking questions on. Panel I have it says is, how do centralized solutions compare to decentralized ones in terms of scalability and performance, and are there any trade-offs between them?
Yeah, that's a good one. Because most people believe that we need centralized solutions to solve scalability issues, especially in the stablecoin industry, for instance. Like, I think that Tether has something like 56% of the market of stablecoins, and for that specific reason. And it's kind of a chicken and egg situation, because the more liquidity they have, the more useful they are. But there's other solutions. For instance, the way we designed FX protocol is to have stablecoins that don't rely on secondary liquidity, so you can just meet them at Oracle price that makes the protocol itself the main liquidity source. So there's no liquidity issue, for instance. So we can solve problems such as liquidity with decentralized solutions as well. So you can see centralized solution as a solution for scalability, but there's new stuff coming to solve these problems. And at some points, we may not need these centralized solutions. And I think it's a great point. And if you look at training AI models, it might be better to distribute all the workload over multiple servers out there rather than one single server to reduce the amount of heat that's produced. On the other side of the point that I was touching on before is with decentralized exchange with an order book, where actually the order book is probably better to make it off-chain rather than on-chain. Posting every limit order on-chain is going to be expensive for market makers. You're going to reduce the liquidity, and it might not be as fast as a centralized order book, basically. So you have both sides of it. For some industries, it might increase the scalability, but for some of them, it actually reduces it.
In my opinion on this aspect is that I don't think the gap is there anymore. I think in terms of performance, the Web3 products have nearly reached it. there. I mean, I invested in one of the co-title sponsors here, which is new chain. They're already doing like 200,000 TPS on layer 1. So I mean, now I guess more and more of these new layer 1s are doing high TPS. Movement Lab is doing what 30 days, and a lot of there's some layer 1s are already doing it. I don't think that there is so much demand in the market. Solana claims 65K, already does 3K. I mean, you have such a big gap, right? Let's start to consume whatever we already have. I don't think we have enough consumption for the amount of ecosystem that we've already built across. So I don't think performance is there as an issue anymore. I think the only gap between adoption and the technology or whatever we have right now is in terms of user experience. If we can just get that barrier across, and I think we're already there. I think that's what will drive the next user adoption. Right.
I'll have one more last question before we open that out for the audience. So as well as it's a question which I ask all my guests is, let's say I give you a time machine and you guys can go 5 years in future. What do you think, where we will be in terms of this debate if you were to look in and say 2029? Would we still be talking about this, or it would be just this
it's done already. Yes. It's already, everything has already happened. I mean, we are living in a post-technological singularity era after 5 years. Yeah, you want to take
your time machines and go ahead. Tell us what is.
Where I hope to be is how I often explain crypto to people. It's like if we have a pie which represents the whole crypto space, 80% or majority of it is still speculation, and only like a small part is real adoption. And what I think is important that we move all these speculators over to being adopters. It's okay that in the customer journey of a crypto users, they come in for the yields, the speculation, but actually should move at some point to actually use products out there. And if we can convert all those speculators to real adopters, I think that's where the real value of crypto is. But we're not there yet. And I hope we will still talk about decentralization in 5 years. And I think we will, but I also believe that it's, as I said earlier, it's probably going to be abstracted for users, and they may not exactly know. I believe that people will just go to the bank and get a product just as they do, but they'll get yield coming from the blockchain, for instance, but they won't even know about it. And if it happens, it's probably going to bring massive capital to 25, for instance. That they shouldn't even know they're actually something decentralized, maybe. Yeah, I don't think they will know.
Yeah, they will know, never. I don't think the users it's all about the user experience, right? Users cannot, if they know that they're doing something differently, that would be the standard norm at that point of time. Whenever this user adoption hits, you would go to any of your partners or brokers or a wealth manager, so to say, and you would be buying a decentralized product as equally as a centralized product.
The way I see it's probably going to impact in some kind of product, and you were talking about your mom earlier, and she would probably be able to get access to these products without even having to understand whether they're free or having MetaMask installed. She would go to her regular bank and put her money in her regular saving account, and it will harness the DeFi product. But it would take some regulation stuff to make it for this to happen. But I think at some point, this
more than 5 years or less than 5 years? What's your?
I think it's probably going to take a little more. But in the meantime, we're here to deliver. The question I have though, maybe for you guys, because if I'm at a birthday party as well, and say I'm in crypto, they're like, oh, scabby, and is there real value in there? And the narrative that crypto has is really about making money, pumping prices, etc. Do meme coins actually add value, and are they actually increasing the bad perception crypto has? Sometimes I'm wondering, what if we go back a couple years where it's not about making money, but about real value delivery, not about the meme tokens, and really move away from that narrative? We might be a couple steps backwards, but it might land us up for better growth in the future. So do meme tokens actually add the right value?
So my answer to this would be that, decentralize the world as a whole world in itself. You will have all sides of the coins in this world. We are catering to so many industries and so many users, So there will always be users who want to have fun, and they are doing meme coins to have fun. And they're openly saying that they're a meme coin. At least that's the right side of it, right? At least they are very true to their nature. It's wrong when you actually start hiding your intent. And that is where the Web2 people get scammed a lot. It's not really they get scammed with meme coins. Nobody's getting scammed with meme coins. It's called a meme coin. So it's the real products that say that they are real and then go away. The rug pulls, those are the worst ones actually.
We were, as a market maker, working with a lot of products out there, and they all, and I'm sometimes wondering what's the real use case of their token. They even need a token. And the other thing is that they all want to sell their token later down the line as if it's a meme token and make profit of it, but they never want to buy it back because again, real utility in a way. Yeah. And I wish it was more balanced that if the price goes up, okay, they're selling, but if price goes down, they're also willing to buy. But because of the lack of fundamentals of the products out there, they're not willing to buy, but they're all willing to sell. And that's a dynamic that a meme token has as well.
I think you can get along and understand the policies of such companies or such meme tokens with the intent of their founders. And yes, if you want to invest into meme tokens, you should do your due diligence. You should see the founder's background. It's all about the founder and a lot of it, right? I mean, it's because regardless of the decentralization, they're not run by DAOs. They are being controlled by single entities who are running the projects.
Well, what is nice about being a company in the Web3 space, we have access to these founders. We talk to them, and we understand their intent. And within 5 minutes of a seal call, we understand what type of founder it is and whether they really want to liquidate tokens for their own treasury and money, or whether they want to do it to actually build something meaningful. But Reels doesn't have that. And that's, I think, a big issue. Where we understand whether it's actually a hidden meme token or if it's a project actually providing a lot of value.
I guess the way to make your path around Web3 is to assess when the risk is low by actually knowing the team and assessing if they're attending to Ripple or not. But to answer your question about meme coins, I think the first place I was thinking, no, it's not bringing the value because it helps people to say that it's a scamming environment and so on. But after I reconsider it because it's a bit like in music when there's a very popular band and you can think it's trendy music, but in the end it brings people to that kind of music. And these guys will learn more and at some point may create better stuff. And so if Memecoin probably attests that the market isn't mature yet, but it brings attention to people, maybe not the end game people, but it brings people into the ecosystem, and it makes the ecosystem bigger and bigger. So, of course, the media can trash crypto because of meme coins, but if it wasn't about meme coins, it would be about something else. And at some point, the narrative would change, and they would stop saying that crypto is just for scams and terrorism funding and stuff like that, and the narrative would change, and Bitcoin would just have brought more people into Web3.
Alright guys, I think we are already over the reach by time, but thank you everyone for coming here. Yes, I can ask your questions.
Thanks. Thank you guys.
So